Hello, welcome back to another Spider-Man video. Hoping the YouTube algorithm likes this one a little bit more, and as you can tell by the title and possibly the thumbnail, I'm going to be doing some repainting. I'm going to increase the shoulder range and a little bit of the hip range, but not enough that it really warrants this video being titled Hip Improvement. First thing I do want to mention, it was pointed out in a previous video, like my previous upgrade video for this, that I should upgrade the blue, I should have repainted it. I didn't agree with it at the time. I have since looked at more reference images, and ideally it could be a darker blue. What I'm doing now is I'm just showing the articulation I've already added from the previous video, but I do want to just point out, the person that suggested in my last upgrade video that the blue should be upgraded, that comment itself was fine. The replies from that comment where they became agitated by another commenter, calling them the N-word, getting quite aggressive, they have been blocked from this channel. I won't have that kind of aggression. Towards myself, maybe occasionally I won't take that. I'm normally try and be quite reasonable with people when they're like that. But if you're like that towards other commenters, I'm not having that kind of community going on. I will just block the... I'll remove the comments and I'll block the user. So please don't be aggressive like that in the comments, because it won't get you anywhere. Anyway, on a much lighter note, boiling water, best friend, everything goes in, everything gets dismantled. I did have a little bit of trouble because I forgot to bring a spoon, so I couldn't get it back out of this cup here. Had to use a scalpel, did eventually get it out, but I would be careful with using hot water. So you want to bend this butterfly joint a little bit further out than it should be, just while it's still warm. You don't want to risk breaking it. And you want to snip that end bit off, because that makes it really difficult to remove the actual shoulder joint. Once you're able to get that out, it makes it a lot easier. You can just go and cut that excess peg off, because that is what's causing the lack of movement in the shoulder. It's because that excess bit of peg is running into the inside, which is a really weird design flaw. You would have thought that the company would have seen that to begin with, but apparently not. But now that we've removed the entire joint itself, you can see how much more range those butterfly joints are capable of. Like, they can socket all the way up to the limits. So it's a shame that we weren't given that out of, like, just out of stock. Out of the box is what I meant. On the stock figure is also what I meant. Just merge the two phrases together. Yeah. So while I was at this, I did notice that the hip joints could do with a bit more articulation. And you can see me brandishing a scalpel here. That is not what I used, because when I began attempting to remove that material, I nearly cut myself with it immediately. So use a rotary tool if you're going to do that, as I switched to very fast. And you can see it does create a little bit more gappage. Not enough that I wouldn't bother doing the modification. I didn't regret doing this modification at all. You can see it gives you like a tiny bit more articulation, and it creates a tiny bit more gap. Again, perfectly fine with this difference. Like, you can see here just how much more range you get upwards from that leg. Again, it's not a lot, it's maybe like 10 degrees more, but sometimes that makes all the difference for posing or for stop motions. So I went and used the hot water again off screen, and I've completely dismantled this figure. This is basically just for the painting process, because it makes it a lot easier to paint something when it's in smaller parts, and it makes it easier to get to all the areas without just like rotating joints, altering parts. Much easier to reach everything with the paint when it's in separate bits. Do ignore the blue. This is not the blue I used. It made the paint mix too grey, so I use a more vibrant blue, which I think is 1000 Suns blue or something from Citadel, that you'll see me show on camera in a sec. Yeah, here you go. 1000 Suns blue. Worked absolute wonders for this figure. So, people often ask me to show my painting process. There's obviously not really much to show with this one. So it's just a sped up video of like the colour difference, I suppose I'm trying to show here. And you can see when it dries it gets a little bit darker. Looks much nicer. And then this is the matte varnish I use. People ask me a lot, and the varnish I use changes quite a lot depending on whether it's in stock when I go to the shops, or whether I can be bothered to go that far to the shops. But yeah, that's the Montana matte varnish that I normally use. It works very well for this sort of thing. I find that it's quite durable, and obviously you've got UV protection in with that matte varnish. So a lot of benefits going on. Now I've sped up this video, like this portion of the video, loads. This was originally 360 seconds worth of footage. You're welcome to do the maths on how many minutes that is. I don't actually know. I think it's 5 minutes, roughly. I have no idea. I've literally done that off the top of my head. I haven't calculated that at all. That's just a guess. But yeah, so it was a lot of like reassembling, and I did end up scraping some of the paint in the process, which is frustrating because I was taking it so slowly in order to not scrape the paint. But I did a little touch up off screen, re-varnished it, and it was fine. So it's time to pop the head back on. Then that's the blue repaint finished. And that's the majority of this repaint finished. But there are some finishing touches which I hope you'll agree kind of make this repaint even better. So overall, he looks fairly good now. I do definitely prefer this blue over the original blue. It's not the exact same as the Tobey Maguire one, it's slightly lighter, so I have accounted for that in this. I think the silver pigment that I added, or the silver paint, is giving it a slight sheen, which I'm quite happy about. I've actually got the figure here, so I'm going to have a quick look at it. It does seem to have added a tiny bit of metallic to it, not enough for it to be like immediately noticeable that it is metallic, but enough that it's there. So I'm glad it's got somewhat of a spandex look to it now. You can see this logo on the back is very dead, and so are the web shooters, like they've not had any paint put on them. So I'm going to do what the Leo Legendary did, and I'm going to repaint this back logo with a nice metallic red, which in all honesty is something I should have done from the beginning because it looks so much nicer. And I am ripping this portion especially right out of the Leo Legendary's upgrade video because this just looks phenomenal. It adds so much character, ironically. But you can see it didn't do much to the web shooters, so I'm going to bring out a little bit of their detail with some black and silver, which still doesn't actually do that much, but it brings out enough that I'm comfortable that it's good enough. You can see the silver on there, you can see the black on there, you can see a bit more of the shape on it more, and that metallic red looks really nice because this paint smoothed out on its own because of how liquidy it was. This is where I may have messed up. This gunmetal, it wasn't as smooth as the metallic red was, so you can see it's a little bit chunkier looking. I also think that it makes it look a little bit too busy, so I might go over with a darker gunmetal at some point and try and smooth it out as well. But for the time being, this is okay. I can't undo it very easily, so it has to be okay. But yeah, from the back, very happy with how he looks. To be fair, from the front as well, I think I'm being a little bit harsh on this gunmetal. It was just lighter than I was expecting it to look. Now that it's fully dried and I've actually got it in hand, it does look a little bit nicer. But yeah, I was not happy with that originally. But looking at the articulation we've got out of this thing, I completely forgot to do the hip show. I forgot to show you guys how much the hips move now. But I suppose you've already kind of seen it. So now that we've modified these shoulders, you can see just how much further back these are going. Like, they're going all the way, they're reaching their complete limit here. And you do obviously get that little bit of gap from the front, but I would much rather have had the potential for this gap and the potential for this articulation rather than Hasbro not allow us any of it. Like, I'd rather have a figure be able to articulate more but risk having gaps than them not give it that articulation so that it won't have the gaps, if that makes sense. Not a whole lot more range forwards, it's not improved that much, but yeah, a massive improvement shoulder articulation wise. But yeah, that's this figure finished. I can't imagine I'll be doing much more. Maybe I'll paint the soles black because I forgot to do it in this video, but I won't do a separate video for that. Miles Morales might be the next Spider-Man that I customise, the PS5 version, so stick around for that. But thank you so much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Please subscribe, my channel is dying.